Day 2 is scouting this ridge we started on yesterday. We got way up top. There wasn't a lot of sign. There's some good habitat. There just didn't seem to be a lot of deer in there. So now I'm working that ridge, but much closer to the road. Typically I'll start far and then work close, and then there's just a lot of dead space in between where I usually hunt. And I typically find that dead space is where the most amount of pressure is. So right now what I'm doing is just meandering through some thick softwoods, and I'm working my way toward a old and new signpost that I found during turkey season. So I'm gonna get out there, I'm gonna see what activity looks like. If it looks good, we're gonna set up some cameras. What? It's a random find. There's so much more deer sign in here, it's actually insane. There's just trails crossing back and forth, back and forth. There's definitely feed in here, so I feel pretty good about this area. And the other thing too, this is a good weekday hunting spot because it doesn't take much to get in here. There's a nice slow brook that runs through here and sort of comes off this knob up in front of me. It's hilly, so there's not a lot of super steep terrain in here, but the steeper terrain does sort of come to a ravine up here. It's more of a larger saddle, I guess. I'm gonna make my way over that way. If I can find a major run, that would essentially prove that they're using this side of the mountain more than the other, because I already have a few cameras over there in that saddle, and there were a few nice runs that were coming through either side, not down the middle, but either side, and they weren't really significant, so I didn't love it, but I had so many does on picture and video that I wanted to see if there was something big lingering in there. Nothing showed up yet, so I'm just sort of circulating throughout the surrounding areas, see if I can pick up on some bigger bucks. So I've got two pretty heavy runs coming out of the swamp, and if you look behind me, it's thick. I mean, it's going to be hard to walk through all that stuff. Just on the other side of that thicket, it's a low bog. It's actually in the bottom of a thermal hub. Look over here, running this line here. You've got a nice buck rub from last year, and this is the trail straight through here, running up that ridge. So follow the sign. I'm going to follow this run, see if there's more buck sign. If there isn't, I'm actually going to swoop left through this super thick area in here and see if there's a bunch of rubs. Sometimes you get into this stuff that's just uncomfortable to walk in, and there's just rubs everywhere, and you start finding beds. That's typically where I would set up a camera on the outside of one of those exiting runs from a thicket. See if I can't start capturing what kind of bucks are in there. Another thing you can do when you're walking on these trails is look in the mud and see what kind of tracks you got. So this looks like a decent buck track. I can't really tell. I think it's probably coming from up top, because that looks like a rear dew claw, and then you get a 4-finger buck. Alright, so this run is bringing me straight up into this awesome clear cut, which has got all sorts of vegetation that the bucks are going to feed on. Does, deer, moose, bears. There's actually a lot of grass in here. Looks like blackberry bushes too. So what I'm going to do is make my way into this clear cut and just see what kind of travel's been sort of going back and forth throughout these bushes. You can already see all sorts of sort of darker lines throughout the shrubs. Those are usually bear, deer, sometimes moose, but I guarantee it's bears too. They sort of tunnel through all this grass, getting the berries. I mean, honestly, this would be a great spot for a tree stand. I'd almost want to be up in this darker timber though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way through all these runs that you're seeing here. You got all sorts of crisscrossing, right? And all this dark timber over here that's super thick. I'm going to see if I can find a run coming out with maybe some rubs on it. A lot of blackberry bushes in here, so I'm going to step out instead of running into a black bear without a gun. Just on the back side of this clear cut, you've got two major runs that are running right into the green shrubs. And then right behind me is where the elevation starts to pick up on this mountainside. And it starts getting pretty steep quickly. And this is the bottom of that thermal hub that I was talking about yesterday. So we were working the top section of it, sort of like the top of the funnel, back and forth, trying to see if any of the deer were at least being channeled through those ravines. And I didn't have much luck. And now that we're out here and I'm sort of looking all throughout the forest, I'm seeing a lot more, I guess, game runs, definitely deer runs for sure. More buck sign, and we're just about getting into that section of the terrain that's gonna be funneling bucks. So I'm gonna keep making my way up here. I mean, look at this. This is just on the other side of that clear cut, exiting the clear cut. You've got a nice rub right there. So I'm feeling better about being low in this area, especially mid to late October. That's crazy. So a baby owl literally just fell out of a tree in front of me, and I am worried that he can't fly. I think he should be able to. He looks big enough. The mom's real stressed out. Oh no, come on, fly, buddy. Go ahead, you're good. Look at this guy, it's so cool. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm getting out of my way. I hate that he fell out of that tree. I don't know how he's gonna get up there. That was the most insane thing. I'm just walking through the woods, and all of a sudden this giant owl falls right out of the tree, and now the mom's circling around me. We were calling back and forth to each other, and I couldn't tell why she was so interested in me. I don't know what to do about that owl. I gotta leave him alone, but I just hope he can figure out how to get back up into that tree before night. I'm trying to figure out if his wing's okay, because it looks like one of them's cocked off to the right. That's got to be one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me in the woods. I'm just going to get away from those birds. try to avoid causing any more stress. I am also running out of daylight, so I want to see if I can find one of these community scrapes down here. I'm hoping that there's something close by, as it is thick enough, but really just hoping that that owl is able to figure out how to get back up into the tree. Now that I'm back to deer hunting, I just quickly, after seeing that owl, went up on the ridge and sort of zigzag vertically to see, you know, are there a bunch of trails? Like, how is this steep section of woods being used? And every 20 yards I go down this ridge, there's just does cutting across the ridge. I like the idea of sitting here up in a tree once the rut starts kicking in, because there's just so much doe traffic in here. I would think that it's gonna pull the bucks in here, you know, at least for a few days, maybe 4 days, something like that. Seems like there's a bunch of different family groups of does, so there's serious potential in here. I don't think up high is the play, to be honest. For whatever reason, it seems like all of them are hanging out down low. I've dropped back down into the swamp. I've already seen a few more rubs, but again, like, I'm not seeing a ton of buck sign. That just feels really good about this area. And like I had mentioned yesterday, it's a brand new spot for me. You know, all the historic information that I have in my head is at least a 40-minute drive from here, which we could do, but during the week it doesn't really do me any justice. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the surrounding area from our home. See if I can't get a nice buck, you know, during archery season. That's ultimately the goal. I was trying to get it done last year. I saw deer. I saw like 14 does, which was insane because I had never seen that many deer in a season in New Hampshire. And I started focusing way more on topography and going to these point spurs or secondary ridges. And every time I got up there, there'd be, you know, 2 does bedded, 1 doe bedded, 4 does bedded. So it's pretty crazy. Anyway, I'm back down in the swamp. I'm just gonna work this hard edge. It's super thick to my right. It's the open hardwoods up on the left. I'm gonna head back towards the truck and just look for some of these runs. Honestly, I think it might be worth putting a camera on one of these heavy runs just to see, you know, are there any big bucks in here? I guarantee, hand to God, I'm only gonna get them at night down here. But I guess it's worth a try, because if there is some big deer in the area, I'd like to know. See if I can't backtrack them. But I'm just gonna keep moving through here. Probably get back on one of these big runs. This looks like a pretty heavy crossing. Honestly, it'd be easy to get it'd be easy to get out to my camera after work to check it. I like to check these things every, you know, realistically every 4 days. But this is a pretty significant crossing. I mean, it looks like people are walking it barefoot. I'm gonna get a camera on it. What do we got to lose? I think that camera's gonna be in a really good spot. Just right down a creek. There's plenty of traffic down that waterway. They're crossing right there. There's feed and browse right there. It's in between a couple clear cuts. So I'm gonna give it probably 5 days. I got a mountain bike trip this weekend. I'm gonna head over to Vermont. I'll ride, and then when I get back from that on Sunday, I'll head out here, see if I got anything on camera. And honestly, if I didn't, then I'm just gonna move it. I might move it within this area, or I might go scout another area altogether. I kind of want to put another camera in here, but I don't know. I don't want to gamble too hard. About 50 yards to my right, I just placed that camera, and I'm meandering through this super tight swamp, and I'm already starting to get more rubs. So honestly, it might make sense to put up some more cameras in here. I just want to see a little bit more buck sign before I put another one. I think I may have found that licking branch I've been looking for. Yeah, without a doubt. So you got this branch hanging way out here. This ground sort of disturbed. And then right here you get a nice run that goes right along it down towards the swamp. So what I'm gonna do is freshen this up, set a camera on a tree, probably that one right there, so that I have all of this view behind me. So everything that you're seeing behind me, I'm gonna set the camera up down there, and I'm just gonna watch this open area where we've got deer going back and forth on this shelf. And then an old licking branch right here. It's not active, but what I'll do is I'll freshen it up, add scent, see if I can get something to come in on it. I honestly think the bucks are right here, like just off the road. I go up there, no buck sign. Come down here in the swamp, that's where all the sign is. All right, so freshened up licking branch. They've been hitting this branch out here that sort of overhangs. You've got a run that comes out of here. You've got a run that comes straight out of this thicket behind me. And then another run that I think it had actually cut out of this area right behind me over here. While I was setting the camera up, I noticed two interesting things. So the bark was just slightly off on this tree over here. So you come around the corner, that looks like a super old signpost that's sort of beat up. Can't really be sure, right? Because the tree looks diseased. I'm like, I don't know if I'm fully on board with that one. You come down over here, and you've got a super old signpost right there. So looks like the deer are coming right down this finger. So it's sort of like a depressed area right here that dips down into this sort of steeper slope that's super thick. And then for whatever reason, at one point the bucks were sort of converging on all of these sort of runs and hitting this tree and then getting out of here. I mean, even right here, you look, who knows if that's one, but I mean, it's just kind of a crazy coincidence that all of these trees have marks like this next to a licking branch. So I got my camera set up on the tree over here. Formatted the memory card. We've got it in on video, SD cards in there, full battery. So all these batteries are good to go. It's marked. Got the time and date ready. I'm gonna flip that over. And we're good to go. All right, that's 2 cameras down. Found the bucks, at least where they hang out at some point throughout the year. Now we're gonna find out if they're here before the rut. And if they are, I'm coming out here during archery season. I'm gonna try to get a full video going. I'll actually use a camera arm, which is stupid heavy. I'll end up using that if I can hunt down here. If I have to go way up there, there's no chance it's gonna be GoPro footage. I just walked. That's easily 50 yards, no more. I've got a scrape and licking branch 5 yards to my right. 2 yards to my left, I got another scrape and licking branch. 3 yards now to my left, I got another scrape and licking branch. So you got this old one right here, right? Sort of ripped up in this area. Leaves are obviously over it. You got an overhanging beech branch. The run comes straight through here, and then another part of it straight through there. And to be sure that, you know, these are old scrape and licking branches, I always like to have some sort of confirmation on the trees. And then look at this stud rub right here. And then the run's just going right through down into the swamp. During spring turkey season, I had found a really, really nice signpost right down in this area. So I'm starting to think that there's a chance these bucks are in here year round. And I'm real curious to see what we get for footage when I get back out here in a week to check both of these cameras, because they are on perfect runs. There's just so much deer traffic in here. It's the right type of forest. We've got rubs all over the place, which I had not found before, and I'm feeling really good about right now. So before I disturb this area anymore, I'm gonna get out of here. It was awesome seeing that owl earlier. That's something, you know, you don't really get to see if you're just hanging out, you know, on a trail or watching Netflix. You can't pay for an experience like that. So that's why I keep coming to the woods. This is really what it's about, is enjoying nature, sort of being with your own thoughts, figuring things out as you go, and just being humble, knowing that you probably don't have it all figured out, especially in here. So I'm gonna wrap things up, get this video edited for everybody, and I'm really getting excited for archery season because we've got some great leads, some great spots. I'm actually in and around a lot more sign than I've been my entire life. I've never been this equipped for the season, just sort of knowing where bucks have been hanging out. Here's another rub. Where the does are hanging out, which is going to be great for the rut. So appreciate everybody hanging out. Like and subscribe if you enjoy the footage. I'm happy to keep making more videos. And then this year I have 2 major goals. I'm going to try to track another buck down come November on film, and then prior to that I'm going to see if I can shoot my biggest buck ever so far with my bow.